I can't even take the garbage out without dropping used tissue all over the place because I always forget to close the bag at the top on my way to the dumpster, which is where I belong. I'm no good and I never will be. The Spiritual Shitshow Podcast with Suzanne Soul, episode number 8. Greetings, you sparkly holiday motherfuckers, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow Podcast, where we get into the jing-jang-jingling shit show the healing and spiritual awakening journey can be. I'm your host, Suzanne Soul, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and I'm sharing some of the craptacular crap I've learned along my journey that has helped me, and that I hope helps you too. All right, let's get into this shizniz. The holidays, the season of giving, receiving, and sitting through your uncle's unsolicited opinions about your life choices. Yes, folks, it's that magical time of year when you walk into a house that smells like cinnamon sticks and unresolved drama, and you leave feeling like a teenager who got caught smoking clove cigarettes in your room. Ram Dass said, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. Family time at the holidays can be wonderful. But holiday time/family time is not easy for everyone. For some people, it might be slightly uncomfortable, but kind of nice. For some, it's a mix of wonderful and terrible. And for some, it's like the Salem witch trials. And every year they return home saying, why the fuck did I do that? Because family can bring up stuff inside of us that feels painful or difficult and might be stuff we really have to work to manage, or that we might be trying to avoid or are afraid of facing in ourselves. And nothing screams the holidays like everyone's favorite stuff, shame. Oh, there's no place like shame for the holidays. Are you really gonna have 2 pieces of pie? Why can't you be more like the girl next door? It's too bad you didn't go into accounting like I told you to. You'd have a nice big chunk of change by now. Shame. The feeling that never misses a cue when that one relative at family gatherings who loves to bring up your most awkward moments says, remember that time you cried because you lost at Monopoly? Yeah, that was a great day. Thanks for bringing that up, Aunt Karen. Or when your cousin starts flexing about their perfect job, perfect house, and perfect kids, while you're over here like, I started a podcast this year about spiritual shit shows. Shame is like the guest at the dinner table who says, this is terrible. Can I have another helping? It's the emotional equivalent of someone who answers every spam call and just keeps getting ripped off. Shame is an expert at stirring shit up. It doesn't matter if you actually did something wrong or you were just feeling slightly awkward. Shame is always ready to poop on your party. And the great part is, insert sarcasm here, it doesn't even need facts to do the job. It'll say stuff like, everyone hates you. And you'll be like, really, shame? Everyone? Did you take a poll? No, you didn't. You're just making that shit up like you always do. No, but really, do they? But don't feel too bad, because shame is like bad breath. We all have it. And maybe if we talk about it, we can get a handle on it and not have to do the holiday walk of shame back to our car when the party is over. So in the spirit of the holidays, I'm shining the holiday light on shame for everyone to see. We're going to talk about it, what it is, where it comes from, and how to get it to stop grinching your good time. So grab some hot cocoa, slather on some peppermint lotion, and remember, everyone's a holiday mess in their own special way. And that's what makes life entertaining. Okay, so first and foremost, what the actual fuck is shame? Well, here's the general definition of shame from the Oxford Dictionary. Cheerio. Shame is a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. Okay, so disclaimer. Like with the negativity bias I talked about in episode 7, shame is not inherently bad and actually serves a purpose for our good. It's when good shame goes wrong that it can wreak havoc in our lives. And then it's called toxic shame. I know. What the fuck is toxic shame, for crying the fuck out loud? What the fuck? Okay, so check it out. Like I said, there's healthy, helpful shame, and then there's toxic shame. And instead of explaining the differences between them, I'm going to act out each of the two different kinds of shame as 1930s film characters. The first clip we're going to watch is from the beloved family adventure film that I made up, called It Came Upon a Healthy Shame. Let's roll the clip. We're sorry, Mr. Dunlap. We didn't mean to scare your dog Peanut and make him run away. We were just playing in the cornfields, and then Buster got the idea to play cowboys on the ranch. And we pretended Peanut was a wolf trying to steal our sheep. And then we started screaming at him, and then acted like we were trying to shoot him. We didn't mean to scare him away. Sincerely, we didn't, Mr. Dunlap. Oh, don't cry, Mr. Dunlap. We'll look high and low for Peanut, and we'll do everything we can to find him. We promise, Mr. Dunlap. Oh, gee, Mr. Dunlap, we sure are sorry. And now, let's roll the clip from the gut-wrenching psychological film noir thriller I made up, called Toxic Shame is Coming to Town. Of course you're leaving me, and I don't blame you for doing it, because I'm nothing but a stinking louse. I don't even know why you bother with a washed-up nothing like me. I'm nothing but a failure and a fraud. I burn the toast. I leave flecks of food on the plates when I wash the dishes. I darn your socks in the wrong direction, and then the threads stick out when you wear them. And then the threads get caught in your shoe, causing tightness. I can't even take the garbage out without dropping used tissue all over the place, because I always forget to close the bag at the top on my way to the dumpster, which is where I belong. I'm no good, and I never will be. And if I were you, I'd run hard and run fast, don't look back, because I'm all washed up. As you might be able to see, healthy shame helps us to know and understand our own limits and the limits of others, and lets us know when we have overstepped. It's an important feature of our psyche that we need so we don't become raging narcissists. It helps us admit we are wrong when we are wrong, take accountability for our mistakes and the times we overstep boundaries, and allows us to take in and process important life lessons to help us to learn to treat ourselves and others with kindness and respect. It's not about us, it's about what we do and say. And then there's toxic shame. Don't you know that you're toxic? Toxic shame is the emotional equivalent of stepping in dog shit while you're wearing new shoes. You didn't see it coming, you can't shake it off, and now you're walking around hoping no one notices the smell. It's not certain where the term toxic shame originated, but the late psychologist and author John Bradshaw explained it beautifully in his book, Healing the Shame That Binds You, which, P.S., is fucking life-changing, 11 out of 10. Bradshaw explains that toxic shame is a pervasive feeling of worthlessness and self-condemnation. He explains that toxic shame often originates in childhood, particularly from experiences of neglect, abuse, or overcritical parenting, and emphasized that shame becomes internalized when a child is made to feel that they are flawed as a person, not just that they made a flawed decision or a mistake. He says, with toxic shame, the belief is that there's something wrong with you, and there's no way to atone for it. You are inadequate and defective. And when shame becomes toxic, it becomes an identity, a sense of being flawed at our core. It becomes part of our shadow self, hidden and repressed, but has a profound influence on our lives. Toxic shame is the root of perfectionism, control issues, rage, passive aggression, and codependence. You know, all the fun stuff. So, as healthy shame is about things we do or say, toxic shame has its eye on our personhood, telling us toxic shit about who we are at our core. Toxic shame drives people to hide who they authentically are from others, or to manipulate relationships to maintain a facade of worthiness. It makes us wear masks and pretend to be someone we're not. Disclaimer, if you experience toxic shame, it is not your fault. You are most likely in the presence of people who were also suffering from toxic shame, or shame bound, as Bradshaw calls it, as a child, and they taught you what they knew. They were dealing with their own shame and they were projecting it onto you because they didn't learn how to deal with it like you are right now. So now, for your holiday pleasure, I'm going to share two different sets of tips and tricks with y'all. One set of tips and tricks for you personally, for your inner journey, and one to help you navigate family time while you grow and heal. Because I've said it before, and I'll say it again, but now I'll add holiday shit in there. We cannot change any other holiday motherfuckers' jingle bells. We can only change the holiday motherfucker in the holiday motherfucking mirror, Jingle Bell Rock. I'm not saying it's totally pointless to share your feelings with others, but you need to know your audience. You know that old saying, you can't get milk from the hardware store. Meaning, people who are not whole and healed within themselves, or who are not mature enough, no matter how old they are not able to take you in and truly hear your feelings because they don't even take themselves in. So, they don't have that kind of empathy in stock. So this first set of tips and tricks is for all the sexy people. That means you and your inner journey. So the good news is you can help yourself out of this toxic spill, because one of the cures for toxic shame is self-acceptance. Just accepting and loving yourself. When we learn to accept ourselves, warts and all, with all of our imperfections, we dismantle the power of shame and free ourselves to live more authentically. But I have a disclaimer. And that is, there are things you may currently believe about yourself that are very disparaging and unkind. Things like, I'm a piece of shit, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm selfish, I'm lazy, and on and on. And you may believe that deep down that is who you are, and that is the truth about yourself that you have to learn to accept. But that is impossible, darling, because if I've told you once, I've told you a million times, you are magnificent. But seriously, dude, these negative, unkind ideas you may have about yourself are not the facts, babe. They are distorted perceptions you have about yourself. And I'm not just blowing positivity bullshit smoke. I'm telling you, these are not reality-based perceptions. They are disparaging and unkind views about yourself that during your childhood may have been either directly said to you or what you assumed about yourself if you were not being treated with love, respect, or importance. And like every child does, you decided it was because of who you were as a person. These negative perceptions are not like the factual or experiential things that you know and experience in yourself. Like, I can sometimes be impatient, or I'm scared of public speaking, or sometimes I'm guarded with people I don't know, or I have depression, or I have anxiety, or a physical or medical condition, and on and on. Actual things you can pinpoint that you experience about yourself, not some made up bullshit about why you're crappy. 'Cause bitch, that shit's not real. That's an opinion. And you know what they say about opinions. So we want to learn to suss those negative perceptions out from our actual humanness in our self-acceptance journey. And a good therapist can help you do that, as can these cute-ass tips and tricks I'm sharing. And it takes time. And it is possible. And it takes time. But what else do you have to do? Spend 45 hours trying to buy 10 people presents that don't suck with $15? Just bake them some cookies and give yourself some love and attention. They'll love the cookies because they came from you, and you'll have more time to learn to love and accept yourself and the fact that currently you only have $15 for presents. Fuck them. Another tool for healing toxic shame is, can you fucking believe this shit? Vulnerability. I know. It's like, what the fuck? Why don't you just put me on stage naked with all my coworkers in the audience? Many people are familiar with the author Brené Brown and her TED Talk about vulnerability, in which she talked all about shame. She says the antidote to shame is vulnerability, the courage to tell our story and own it. And the empathy we receive when we do is the birthplace of connection, worthiness, and joy. We have another disclaimer, folks. If we're new to this whole vulnerability thing, we want to find places and spaces where we feel safe to share our vulnerability. The first places might be a therapist's office or trusted friend or partner. There are awesome self-help groups, 12-step groups, and maybe even social groups can help put you in environments with people you can start practicing being vulnerable with. Just, read the room. And then there's yourself. Journaling, making art just for yourself, and on and on. And that shit is very fucking healing. I mean, at the end of the day, you're the one you're trying to convince. Finding those safe spaces is important because you already may know how it feels to have your vulnerability be shut down or criticized or exploited. And that's why you might be experiencing toxic shame today. Show her what she's won, Bob. Why, she's won a lifetime of chronic self-deprecation. Can I change my choice to door number 2? The Buddha often taught that suffering, including the painful feelings associated with shame, can be a path to awakening when met with mindfulness and wisdom. I always find myself coming back to what author and psychologist Carl Jung said. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Recognizing that toxic shame is not inherent within us, but is learned, is the first step to healing. Naming toxic shame is like turning the light on in a dark room. The shame loses its power when it's exposed. What was once a terrifying shadow becomes something you can deal with. One thing we can do to start the journey of healing toxic shame is to reconnect with our inner child, the part of us that experienced the shame in its earliest form. This part of us is stuck in the past, and that's why it's still carrying the pain of rejection, humiliation, or neglect we felt back then. A couple things we can do to reconnect with our inner child and help her heal are, as I mentioned earlier, working with a good therapist and attending to ourselves with our own loving presence. When you feel that toxic shame has come online, take a breath. Put your hand on your heart and talk to yourself like you are your own loving parent. Just really try to stay present with yourself and feel your presence in your body. It's very healing, I'll tell you. You can say things like, I'm okay and I'm safe here in this present moment. Anything like that where you are soothing your inner child and letting her know that right here and right now within your present day self is the best place to be. I'll give you a couple regular daily practices you can do as well to help your healing process. Number 1 is noticing, kindly observing yourself and your thoughts. Not like you're trying to catch yourself in the act, but more like you would observe a child to see if they're okay. When you notice self-critical thoughts, pause and just notice. Or you can even ask yourself, would I say this to a friend? And maybe try to replace harsh judgments with supportive statements. And the second one is practicing self-forgiveness when you make mistakes. Babe, you're not perfect and you never will be. And remember what Grandma Rose said. All the perfect people are in the cemetery. And I'd rather be here with you all imperfect and stuff. Spiritual teacher, psychologist, and author Tara Brach, who wrote an amazing book called Radical Acceptance, 10 out of 10, emphasizes the importance of self-compassion and mindful awareness. She advocates for meditation to center ourselves in our own loving presence and highlights the role of community and relational support in healing shame, noting that we are wounded in relationship and we heal in relationship. Which leads us to our second set of tips and tricks to help us navigate family time during the holidays. Here's the thing. Family are often the people we yearn to receive accepting love from the most. But sometimes they're the people who find it the hardest to give to each other. Whether you're like, love them, but sometimes it ain't easy. Or you're like, I question my judgment every time I go. You might need a little support and some cute ass tips, so here they are. Tip 1, stop performing. Let's get real. Most holiday shame comes from the pressure to perform. You're supposed to be cheerful, successful, and grateful, all while trying not to scream during salad. But you're not a Broadway show, baby. Or maybe you are, but either way, you don't have to dazzle anyone. If your family's not impressed by you just existing, that's their loss. You don't owe them a highlight reel of your life. You owe yourself peace, even if that means showing up in sweatpants and drinking a milkshake with dinner. Tip number 2, make space for imperfection. Here's a wild idea. What if the holidays didn't have to be perfect? What if you could just be, without all the pressure to prove you're thriving? Not one of the motherfuckers at the holiday party are perfect. So take the pressure off yourself, babe. Tip number 3, shift the energy. Let's shift the vibe. Bring a little gratitude to the table, and not the fake, I'm so blessed kind, but the real stuff like I'm grateful for therapy, because that's where I'm heading after this meal. Tip number 4, create some escape routes. Think of it like Monopoly. Always have a get out of jail free card ready. When the Shame Olympics begin, you have a few options, like the bathroom retreat. This is a classic. Nobody questions a bathroom break. Go in there, lock the door, and meditate for 2 minutes, and remind yourself that life exists outside of this dining room. Or the kitchen cop-out. Offer to help in the kitchen. Bonus points if you pick a solo task like peeling potatoes. Nothing says I need space like aggressively scrubbing dishes while humming Jingle Bell Rock. Or the take a walk excuse. Step outside for some air. Tell people you need to check on your car, or your dog, or your existential crisis. Tip 5, drop the rope. Ever played tug of war? It's exhausting, right? And the only way to end a game you wish you weren't playing is to let go of the rope. So when your older brother says, oh, still doing that comedy thing? Instead of pulling the rope and saying, yes, and it's going great, thank you very much, try dropping it and just go, yup, and then take a bite of pie. Your silence is your superpower, baby. When someone's fishing for a reaction and you don't bite, it drives them bananas, which is fitting because they're acting bananas. And tip number 6, give yourself permission to suck at this. Here's a newsflash. You don't have to be perfect at handling your family. You're allowed to get triggered. You're allowed to say the wrong thing. You're allowed to sneak out early and eat Taco Bell in the car because you just couldn't deal. Every year is a new opportunity to practice. Maybe this year you don't take the bait when your dad brings up politics. Maybe next year you politely shut down Aunt Carol's interrogation about your dating life. And maybe the year after that, you wear a t-shirt that says comments for this post are turned off. Or just go to Paris. Progress, not perfection. And don't forget the healing power of laughter. Laugh at the chaos. Find joy in the absurdity, and if it gets too heavy, step outside, take a deep breath, and remind yourself you've survived every single awkward holiday. So you're basically like a shame ninja at this point. Be kind to yourself, and remember, when shame shows up, it's just your inner child feeling like they're not enough. Hug that little kid inside of you. Tell them they're amazing, and then go eat another cookie. At the end of the day, the holidays are about connection, not performance. You don't have to prove anything to anyone, and you sure as hell don't have to carry the weight of their expectations. Because if they are pummeling you with shame balls, it's really only about themselves, looking for a way to process their own shame. So don't you own it. And just let them sit in their own party poop. With love, of course. So this year, show up as the glorious, messy, imperfect human you are. Laugh at the chaos, set some boundaries, and remember, if all else fails, the bathroom is your sacred space. Spiritual freedom comes from embracing the present moment fully, including whatever feelings arise. And remember what Ram Dass said, when you are already everything, what is there to be ashamed of? But seriously, you want to see your magnificence? Look up at the sky. Look at the ocean, the stars, trees, mountains, a glorious horse, a powerful lion. The energy you feel when you look at those things is what you are made of. You are a Christmas, Hanukkah, Ramadan, Kwanzaa holiday miracle, babe. I hope this helps you navigate, enjoy, tolerate, take care of yourself during this holiday season. I'll end with this amazingly terrible joke. What do you call a biologist who likes to be shamed and humiliated in the bedroom? Biodegradable. Wishing everyone peace, love, and joy this season. You got this, boo. You're holiday royalty, babe, and I'll love you so much. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. And for God's sakes, pass the pie. Roll it, roll it, roll it, roll the next one.